There is a book that promised to teach anyone to become rich just by changing their way of thinking. A bestseller that sold over 100 million copies, influenced businessmen, coaches, internet gurus, but whose author died far from being one of those business titans he describes in its pages. Napoleon Hill is not just the name behind Think and Grow Rich. He is the protagonist of one of the darkest and most contradictory stories in personal development. A man who built an almost impenetrable myth about himself, declared himself an advisor to presidents and friend of magnates, while accumulating failures, accusations of fraud, and a real life very different from the legend. Was he a genius who understood the human mind before anyone else? Or a master manipulator who turned other people's hope into his main business? The answer lies in the way he designed, step by step, his own character. And what you'll discover in this video will not only challenge everything you thought you knew about Napoleon Hill, but will make you question the entire industry he helped create. Early years and hidden scandals. Imagine the scenario. United States, late 19th century, early 20th. Industrial fever, new fortunes every year, newspapers filled with stories of self-made men. In the middle of that boiling country, on October 26, 1883, Oliver Napoleon Hill is born in Pound, Virginia, a rural, poor, mountainous area. He loses his mother as a child. His childhood is marked by hardship and almost destructive rebellion. The arrival of his stepmother changes the course. She forces him to exchange the pistol he wore at his waist for a notebook and a pen. At 13, Hill becomes a mountain reporter for a small local newspaper. It's not glamorous. It's not New York. But there he discovers a truth he will never abandon. Whoever controls the story controls perception. And whoever controls perception can seem much more important than they really are. But there's something more in those early years that the official narrative prefers to omit. At 15, Napoleon Hill marries for the first time, forced by the father of a girl he had impregnated. The marriage is a disaster from the start. Shortly after the wedding, the young woman confesses something devastating. Napoleon is not the father of the child. This episode, practically erased from official biographies, shows us from the beginning an impulsive young man trapped in consequences of his own actions, forced to bear responsibilities that weren't his own. It's the first indication of a pattern that will repeat. The abysmal difference between public image and private reality. From a very young age, Hill understands that his best commodity isn't money. It's his ability to tell stories about success. He starts writing about people in the region, small businesses, local events. Little by little, he approaches the business world. He works for a coal magnate as an assistant. According to the official biography, he so impressed his employer with his devotion and integrity that he was promoted to manager of a coal mine, responsible for about 350 men at the age of 19. However, skeptics believe this promotion was actually a reward for helping his boss cover up a shooting committed by one of the bank's employees. The dark years, fraud and escape. Between 1903 and 1908, Hill's life becomes a deliberate mystery. He's known to have worked as a sales manager at a sawmill. He moved to Alabama in 1905 and opened his own business, the Acree Hill Lumber Company, in 1907. And this is where the story gets murky. In May 1908, Hill is arrested for altering checks, though he was subsequently acquitted. But his commercial activities at Acree Hill soon drew the attention of his suppliers. Hill bought tens of thousands of dollars in lumber on credit from suppliers across the country and sold the lumber for cash in Alabama. Suppliers discovered Hill was committing fraud. He was pocketing the cash from sales instead of paying his debts. In September 1908, Napoleon Hill fled Alabama. Hill disappeared for several months, and a warrant was eventually issued for his arrest. He was sued by at least one of the lumber suppliers. Subsequently, Hill declared bankruptcy and somehow avoided arrest. By December 1908, Hill had moved to Washington, D.C., giving himself a new name and a new story to start a new life. He began referring to himself as Napoleon Hill instead of Oliver. The Carnegie myth, his entire myth, rests on one scene: the famous interview with Andrew Carnegie. According to Hill, in 1908 he was sent to interview the steel magnate. What should have been a chat of a few hours allegedly turned into 3 days of intense conversation. At the end, Carnegie throws him an almost biblical challenge. Spend 20 years studying the most successful men in America, interviewing more than 500 millionaires to extract a philosophy of success that anyone could follow. Hill claims Carnegie even tested him silently. He allegedly gave him, mentally, only 60 seconds to accept or reject the mission, convinced that true winners decide quickly. Hill, of course, accepts without hesitation. It's the perfect hero's call, constructed with the precision of a Hollywood script. But there's a problem. Outside of Hill's books and speeches, there is almost no solid evidence that this monumental project was formally commissioned by Carnegie. Carnegie's official biographer, David Nasaw, found no evidence of that meeting, suggesting Hill fabricated it to increase his credibility. No contract was found, no clear correspondence documenting that 20-year mission. Carnegie's archives don't mention Napoleon Hill. What we have, essentially, is Hill's word. Historians believe Hill spent most of 1908 evading arrest, and that the story about Carnegie was only a device to promote his later writings. And here appears the first great hook of this story. What if the most mythical moment of his life never happened exactly as he described it? What if that meeting was, at best, a common interview that he later inflated, rewrote, and wrapped with a layer of mysticism to appear as the man chosen by the magnate? More scams and failed ventures. In Washington, Hill joined the Automobile Club of Washington and established the Automobile College of Washington in 1909. He bought ads in several Washington newspapers, promoting a 6-week training course that taught people to become expert automobile assemblers. But the training course was actually a front to get people to provide him with free labor to build cars for Carter Motor Corporation. Hill's college was exposed as a scam in 1912. Hill briefly moved to West Virginia with his family after the college failed, before moving to Chicago to accept a job at LaSalle Extension University. He left this position less than a year later to buy a franchise of Martha Washington Candy Company with 3 partners, but was forced out of the business shortly after. He then established another school, the George Washington Institute, which claimed to teach its students the principles of success. This school also failed, and many of its students accused Hill of fraud. Chaotic personal life. While building his public image as a success expert, Hill's personal life was absolute chaos. His second marriage, to Edith, was full of turbulence and violent outbursts. His wife Edith filed for divorce in 1908. In the proceedings, Hill's friends and business associates testified about his relationships with prostitutes. At one point, Napoleon took his young daughter without telling his wife, leaving the baby with Hill's mother in Virginia and threatening never to return her. In a letter dated January 24, 1908, Napoleon wrote to his wife saying, "I am leaving the country where you will never bother me. You can only communicate with me through my father, and only if he deems it convenient." Officially, Napoleon Hill supporters probably know about 2 or 3 of his marriages. In fact, he was married at least 5 times. And here's another fascinating fact that the official narrative hides. Hill was involved in a cult in New York. This detail, almost completely erased from mainstream biographies, shows us the extent to which Hill was willing to explore any path that would give him influence, money, or both. The fabricated connections. The line between reality and fiction begins to blur precisely where the rest of his legend is founded. Hill claimed that, starting from his encounter with Carnegie, he dedicated himself to interviewing hundreds of wealthy and influential men: Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, Alexander Graham Bell, John D. Rockefeller, among others. Some contacts may have happened tangentially. Others were probably exaggerated. Many could never be confirmed. But Hill didn't stop there. He claimed that in 1918, after the collapse of his George Washington Institute, President Woodrow Wilson personally contacted Hill to ask for help winning World War I. Hill claimed Wilson offered him large sums for his help, but that he accepted no payment for his work because he was a patriot. He went so far as to say he was so important and so involved in the war effort that he had the power to veto the president. Hill claimed to have been intimately involved in negotiating the armistice with Germany. These claims are not believed to be true. White House records include no reference to him ever being there. At different times, he described himself as advisor to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, counselor to Woodrow Wilson, lawyer, government-appointed business expert. Some elements have a real basis. He did work on projects related to communication and motivation in government contexts. Others, however, appear to be creative expansions of much more modest roles, success through books. In the 1920s, Hill publishes The Law of Success in several volumes. There he presents for the first time in a systematic way the ideas he would later summarize in Think and Grow Rich: definite purpose, mastermind, autosuggestion, discipline, persistence, control of the mind, etc. The book is successful. With the money and initial fame, Hill adopts for a time a lavish lifestyle: luxury car, large property in the mountains. He seems, at last, to have found the formula. But the Great Depression hits and strikes his newly acquired wealth head-on. His mansion is foreclosed, income falls, businesses linked to his courses and magazines collapse. The master of success returns to experiencing the economic instability that his principles promised to avoid. And yet, it is precisely in that context of personal and global crisis when Hill writes his most famous work, Think and Grow Rich, published in 1937. The world is crumbling. Millions are unemployed. Misery is spreading. Hill offers what everyone wants to hear: that there is a set of 13 mental principles that, if you follow them to the letter, will lead you to wealth. The 13 principles are burning desire, faith, autosuggestion, specialized knowledge, imagination, organized planning, decision, persistence, the power of the mastermind group, the mystery of sex transmutation, the subconscious, the brain as a vibration station, and the sixth sense. All wrapped in almost scientific language and peppered with supposed anecdotes with the great magnates. The message is powerful. The ultimate cause of your poverty is not outside, it's in your mind. If you change your mind, you change your destiny. Hill writes that merely wishing for riches will not work, but desiring riches with a state of mind that becomes obsession, then planning definite ways and means to acquire riches, and backing those plans with persistence which does not recognize failure, will bring riches. The book became a phenomenon. It made Hill rich again, but he lost a great part of his fortune to creditors and later in a divorce settlement. Between 1939 and 1945, Hill released 3 more publications. How to Sell Your Way Through Life, a 17-volume course of study titled Mental Dynamite, En Soin, the Master Key to Riches. The Ultimate Contradiction. Here emerges the crack that feeds all the dark theories about Hill. He himself never becomes the archetypal multimillionaire his book seems to promise. He lives periods of relative comfort, yes, but also returns to facing financial problems, city changes, constant reinventions. Napoleon Hill died at the age of 87 on November 8, 1970, at his retirement home on Paris Mountain near Greenville, South Carolina, where he spent the last 18 years of his life. His wife died in 1976, and after her death, what remained was a house valued at approximately $600,000, plus a bank account of nearly $475,000. Let's call it approximately $1 million in 1976 values. A respectable sum, yes, but far from being on the list of the great magnates he described. That leads us to an uncomfortable question. If the formula is so infallible, why didn't its main prophet ostensibly embody the results he was selling? Is it due to inconsistencies in his life, external circumstances, or because the promise was always greater than the reality? The myth-making machine. The construction of his personal myth followed a series of strategies we recognize today in many digital gurus. First, association with the powerful, repeating ad nauseum the names of Carnegie, Ford, Edison, Roosevelt, writing as if they were intimate friends. Second, revelation language. He doesn't just offer advice, he offers laws of success, formula, secret, science of achievement. Third, sacrifice narrative. He presents his life as a decades-long journey, full of privations, dedicated to discovering principles he now delivers to the reader, almost as a sacred legacy. Fourth, mixture of truth and invention. The less the public can verify, the easier it is to fill in the gaps with imagination. Hill understood, probably better than anyone in his time, that perceived authority is worth more than real credentials. Every time he said, "My friend Henry Ford," "My mentor Andrew Carnegie," "My conversations with Thomas Edison," he wasn't just informing. He was programming the reader's mind to see him as a natural member of the elite. It was the deliberate creation of an identity. Napoleon Hill, the man who mingled with giants. And it's precisely here where the central theme of this video takes shape. Are we looking at a fraud or a genius of personal myth construction? On one hand, there's a trail of failed businesses, grandiose promises, and biographical embellishments that, together, paint Hill as someone willing to exaggerate to maintain his image. On the other hand, there's a work that influenced millions of people, a system of ideas that helped countless readers improve their focus, discipline, and ambition. Can someone be, at the same time, manipulator and useful? A liar in some points and still a catalyst for real transformations in other people? The dangerous appeal. Think about the structure of Think and Grow Rich. Hill combines accounts of supposed interviews with magnates with relatively solid psychological principles, such as the importance of persistence and clear objectives, and mystical elements. Mental vibrations, sixth sense, invisible laws of the universe. That mixture is irresistible to a desperate audience. It offers logic and magic, effort and secret, discipline and spiritual shortcut. From a marketing standpoint, it's perfect. Those seeking rational explanations find content. Those seeking magic find promise. But there's a deeper problem here that goes beyond Hill's biography. The central message of Think and Grow Rich reinforces the myth that anyone can become rich within the current economic system if they just have the right attitude. But we know it's literally impossible for all people, or even most people, to become rich within capitalism. The system is based on the same exploitation that Napoleon Hill embodied throughout his life, taking advantage of investors, scamming the masses to take their money, and faking it until making it. Modern critics point out that no person has achieved tangible results by thinking positively 24 hours a day, unless we count as tangible result having a nervous breakdown caused by pretending everything was fine while the world around them collapsed. The book has been debunked by science, psychology, religion, and most importantly, by reality. Now, look at this from another angle. For millions of people, especially in contexts of poverty and lack of opportunities, Hill was not a scammer, but a source of hope. His central message, "Your thoughts matter, your attitude matters, define a purpose and persist," helped many people get out of inertia. Not because there's a universal law of attraction operating as magic, but because setting a clear goal and acting with discipline naturally increases the chances of improvement. Many of the most influential business leaders in the modern world cite Think and Grow Rich as a book from which they draw immense inspiration. Tony Robbins promotes Think and Grow Rich on his website with an affiliate link. Damon John from Shark Tank swears by its teachings. Donald Trump loves Napoleon Hill and quoted him. Most business gurus who proclaim that Think and Grow Rich is incredibly solid prey on people new to the game who haven't been around long enough to see harmful patterns. This is how people like Tony Robbins, Marie Forleo, and Amy Porterfield keep filling their funnels. They target new entrepreneurs with seven-figure dreams who don't realize that what they're teaching is available for free on Google or at the local community college. The final question. In the end, the most dangerous question this documentary leaves is not, did Napoleon Hill lie? It's another. Why do we need so much to believe in figures like Napoleon Hill? Why do we prefer an epic story, the poor young man chosen by Carnegie, who converses with Ford and deciphers the code of wealth, instead of accepting that success is usually a chaotic mixture of context, effort, opportunity, and chance? Hill shows us, with his own trajectory, that the myth of the great master often says more about the public's need than about the master's purity. And perhaps that's Napoleon Hill's true dark legacy, having proved with his own life that in the game of symbolic power, factual truth matters less than a good narrative told with conviction. In that sense, Napoleon Hill was indeed ahead of his time. He combined self-observation, suggestion, environmental influence, and goal focus decades before positive psychology and neuroscience popularized similar concepts with different vocabulary. The problem is he wrapped those valuable elements in a thick layer of personal mythology and absolute promises. So, fraud or genius? If you look at it only from historical rigor, you'll see inconsistencies, embellishments, gaps. If you look at it from cultural impact, you'll see a man who, with a personal life full of ups and downs, created the matrix of an entire multi-billion-dollar market of self-help, coaching, and wealth mindset. His greatest work wasn't Think and Grow Rich on paper. His greatest work was the meticulous construction of Napoleon Hill, the man who knows how success is made. That character remains alive every time someone quotes his famous title as definitive authority. Perhaps the most honest answer is to admit he was both. Genius at detecting human hunger for meaning, formulas, and certainties, and, at the same time, deeply willing to stretch reality as far as necessary to occupy the pedestal he built for himself. The people who praise him are usually naive individuals who haven't understood how life really works and need something to believe in. Or people who have a financial interest in selling Think and Grow Rich through affiliate links to earn a few cents from Amazon. Any person with a bit of common sense who writes a blog with the genuine intention of informing their readers presents Napoleon Hill as he really was, a scammer. The question, from here on, is not to judge the man who already died. It's to look at the new Napoleon Hills who today fill the networks, promising instant wealth based on infallible methods, and ask ourselves, are we learning finally to distinguish between inspiration and illusion? Or are we still willing to confuse myth with truth? As long as the myth makes us feel that someday, somehow, we too can think and grow rich. The story of Napoleon Hill is not just the story of a man. It's a mirror that reflects our desperate need to believe there's a secret formula, a shortcut, a hidden code that will take us from poverty to wealth. And as long as that need exists, there will always be someone willing to sell it, packaged in books, courses, seminars, and promises that shine like gold, but in the end, may turn out to be just golden dust scattered over a life as chaotic and fractured as Napoleon Hill's own.